AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about a little bit of news. So here's the problem, and it's my fault, right? The problem with being late on an episode is you typically don't have very much of a news cycle that happens in between the time that you last recorded on Sunday and the time that you record on Tuesday, for instance. And then you have the other problem that I'm kind of facing at the moment is that we're in earnings call season, and we're going to cover Tesla's earnings call next episode, and then we'll cover GM's earnings call and then Ford's earnings call. So the news that's coming out right now is kind of in those earnings calls, and how much do I jump into that stuff before we actually listen to the earnings call, because there might be some context that's left out of those articles. So yeah. Today's show was a little bit of a pickle to put together, to say the least, just because I was like I have most of all the news that we have. There's only 3 stories. It's not a very long show, this episode, but most all the news we have is about GM. And even then, I'm trying to decide, do I really want to put this in here? Because maybe we get more context in the GM earnings call. And then the Tesla stuff, you got Elon's $1 trillion pay package. I've got a boat. I can probably spend 2 episodes on that $1 trillion pay package. And I'll just give you a hint as to what I'm thinking. It's ridiculous. I didn't have this written down, but if Tesla reaches $8.5 trillion, Elon gets $1 trillion in stock options and however else they're awarding this. So it's not like they hand him a check for $1 trillion, but that would mean that Elon's value to Tesla is 1/8 or a little less than 1/8 of Tesla. Tesla has 126,000 employees. And I might be getting the math wrong on this because I actually went through this on Sunday and now it's Tuesday when I'm recording this. But that means like Elon is worth about 15,000 and I don't know, I think it was like 700 or 600 employees, Tesla employees. And if you took Elon's pay package of $1 trillion, that would mean that every single Tesla employee, not contractor, but Tesla employee would get something like $7 million, something close to that. It was like 6.7 or something in that neighborhood. That's just a ridiculous amount of money. And my thing with how that pay package goes, right? He's obviously got to hit some milestones in order to get that money. But what if he does? How do you up that? How do you increase that to make him want to stay? If Elon will stay for no less than $1 trillion, if he is like, if you don't give me $1 trillion in stock, and I understand that Elon's the lore around Elon is he doesn't care about money, and I tend to agree with that. I think he probably cares more about the power and control than he does about money. But if he doesn't get, I have to put this into some sort of context. So I'm just going to put it into the money context. So if for some reason, you don't think I'm talking about control and power, when I say $1 trillion, I'm really talking about control and power, less about money. But if Elon is able to reach this milestone and he gets his $1 trillion pay package and he gets the control that he wants, how do you up that? Like, what's the next step to make him stay? Like, what do you do next? Do you do $3 trillion? Do you do $5 trillion? Like, that's such an astronomical amount of money. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be trillionaires in the world or billionaires or anything like that, because that part of things doesn't actually bother me that much. What people tend to do with their money afterwards, I'm a little bit more concerned about. And I'm not talking about the political side of things. I'm talking about once people get money, some will pull up the ladder behind them, right? And I don't tend to think those kind of billionaires are very effective. And then others will be charitable and try to help people out. And I think that's a great way to have $1 billion. But I'm not willing to get rid of the 1 billion, the billionaires that are willing to help people out, to punish the billionaires who aren't as willing. So, yeah. Anyway, they kind of got off on a tangent here. But the thing is like, that's a very hard milestone to, 1, get to, 2, repeat, and 3, to top. So $1 trillion seems like a lot. And then it seems also, oh man, I might as well just do this because I only had 3 stories, and I've already talked for 6 minutes. The other thing that I think is really, to my mind, interesting about what Elon does is it's not, I can't think of the word. The synergy is the word. The synergy that he has set up between his companies, I think, is very fascinating. SpaceX is not the same as Tesla. It's not the same as the Boring Company, which I know is, I think, still under SpaceX. Is not the same as XAI, blah, 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 all the way down the line. But it's interesting that employees are able to kind of cross over between these companies and help each other out. I think that's a really good thing. I find it very upsetting is not the right word, concerning that Elon is pushing so hard for this XAI stuff, for Tesla to buy XAI. Because I genuinely, I don't know how that benefits shareholders long-term for Tesla to own XAI when Elon has repeatedly said that XAI has a different mission and is doing different things than what Tesla is doing. And that XAI, the employees who worked at XAI, the whole reason Elon created it was because those employees didn't want to work on things that Tesla was doing. So why you wouldn't be able to use that synergy that you've already done so well with your company and bring those employees in when it's and vice versa, cross companies, with Tesla employees going to XAI or XAI going to Tesla companies, why you wouldn't be able to continue doing that is kind of beyond me. It just seems more like that's just another way for him to get more control of the company. And, Elon famously he made an offer to Twitter, and he sold a lot of Tesla shares at, I don't think it was any sort of long-term harm to Tesla employees and Tesla shareholders, but him selling shares made the stock price go down short-term. So there's a short-term disadvantage. Not to say that he can't sell shares, but he sold shares to buy X or Twitter, and now I think, kind of wants to get those shares back without buying them. And I'm going to work very hard to say not to say without earning them, because I do think that Elon is valuable to these companies, especially Tesla. And, obviously you can see where he was, on Tesla's rise on the way up. He was so, he was so tied to the company, and it was as if every bit of Tesla's success was on his shoulders. And that's a double-edged sword, because as he kind of let some of his true colors show over time, that has, continued to help the company, but also hurt the company. And for, calling the guy in Thailand a pedophile is probably not a good way to go. Like, I think that if Elon, and if you don't know, the kids who were in Thailand, who were trapped in a cave, Elon tried to go and help. There was an expat there, and he thought that Elon was doing nothing but getting in the way. I don't know if Elon actually went to Thailand or not, or sent representatives. It's been a while, but he thought that Elon was getting in the way, and he made his frustrations known, and Elon just called him a pedophile without any sort of proof that this person was a pedophile. And I think that's a really poor way to do things, obviously, but we've seen Elon do that since then. So it's, something that he does. I can't remember if he had to pay anything for defamation, or if there was any sort of, I know there was a lawsuit, but I don't know if he settled or what the deal was on that. But anyway, the point is, having your CEO so attached to your company, to the point of, a lot of people, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a decent number of people out there who didn't know that Tesla was a public company, and just that Elon owned the entire company. I wouldn't be surprised if there were people out there that thought that Elon was the original founder of the company. I mean, Elon has founder status, but he had to, I believe, sue for founder status, or negotiate founder status, if he didn't sue for it. But I think he sued, but I could be wrong on that. But regardless, I think Elon was valuable enough to the company, and there early on, he probably should have, you can argue that he should have had founder status anyway, just because of how early he came on initially as an investor, and then his role grew inside the company. But my point is to this is that I feel like he is pulling a lot of levers to put himself in a position to have more control of Tesla. And that isn't inherently a bad thing. Where I have a problem with it is that you're doing it potentially to benefit yourself, but there is a potential that it's going to harm your shareholders. It's not to say that it will, but it is a big bet. And for people, for someone to ask folks who have, in some cases, only have Tesla stock in their portfolio, which I think is extraordinarily foolish, but who only have Tesla stock in their portfolio to do this, I think that is and to be the richest man in the world doing it on top of everything else, I just don't, that doesn't sit well with me. And it's not to say that there isn't a way for this. It's not to say that there wouldn't have been a way for this to be done where I would be okay with it. I mean, actually, I don't think I'm saying that right. There's probably a way that Elon could have done this that I wouldn't make me feel so gross. Another thing is, Tesla's been very big on not advertising for the car company, the product that they actually sell and develop right now that makes them money. They've not advertised on that, traditional advertising. From articles that I've read, and I don't have, boy, I'm going to sound real bougie. I don't have the patience to watch ads. So most of the streaming services, all of the streaming services that I have, I pay extra money so I don't have to watch the ads. But I guess there's some ads on Paramount and some other things, and some things on X, and I don't spend as much time on X as I used to. Not because of Elon, because I have 2 jobs, a family, 3 podcasts, 2 that I do regularly, and then everything else that goes with life. And I prefer to spend my downtime scrolling through TikTok or Sora at the moment. But anyway, from what I understand, there's ads on some platforms, but the ads are not for the cars, the products that they sell. The ads are for Elon's pay package. And if you're willing to spend money, and it's probably not very much, to be honest with you, but if you're willing to spend money on getting your CEO a $1 trillion pay package, but you're not willing to spend money on your cars, that is also a problem for me, advertising money. I would much rather someone quietly make the case that they deserve to have a $1 trillion pay package than to advertise for it. That doesn't seem, it puts me off a little bit, because that is such a ridiculous amount of money, and he has his own money to do that. And I don't know if he is, and I'll take this all back if he is, but if Elon was paying for these ads out of his own pocket, I don't actually think I would have any problem with that. But he's using company money, which is partly shareholder money, to advertise his own pay package. This seems wrong to me. Especially when advertisers have been asking, can you please advertise your cars? We would sell more of them. And the answer is always, well, not always. The answer's pretty much been no. There have been times when Elon has said during different events that it's something that they'll think about or something they're considering. And I think that's fine. And I don't even care that, honestly, if Tesla wants to solely advertise on Twitter or X, I mean, it does seem like it might be a snake eating its own tail. I don't know that you're getting a whole lot of people who aren't already fans of Tesla on X, on X. Like the people who are fans of Tesla are already on X, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know how many more people you're going to reach in terms of new customers, but at least that's something. But if you're not willing to spend money on the cars that you actually sell, but you're willing to spend money on the CEO's very generous pay package, that is off-putting to me a little bit. Every time I say off-putting, there's this movie called Dinner with the Schmucks, and there's a very funny scene involving pudding that I can't relate not to on this podcast, not because it's anything that's too risque, is just that I would butcher the joke, but it's pudding, not pudding. But anyway, Every time I say that, it makes me giggle a little bit.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Mr. Monopoly here. Monopoly is back at McDonald's. Register in the McDonald's app so you're ready to
get your bag.
2 ways to peel for a chance to
get your bag.
Physical peels with select items and digital peels with others to
get your bag.
Play Monopoly at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
No purchase necessary. See rules at PlayMCD.com for full details and AMOE.PlayMCD.com to play without purchase. Ends November 23rd, but bonus play ends November 2nd. Monopoly is a registered trademark of Hasbro. Copyright McDonald's.
When it comes to delivering flowers for life's special occasions, trust the name that's been setting the standard for nearly 50 years. 1-800-Flowers.com. From breathtaking bouquets to one-of-a-kind arrangements, 1-800-Flowers is your authority on quality blooms. Always fresh, always stunning, always delivered with care. And right now, for a limited time, you can save up to 40% off your bouquet and make someone's day. Save up to 40% off today at 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM.
All right. Well, folks, I have talked for 18 minutes, almost 19 minutes now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read I'm going to stop talking about Tesla. All of that off the top of my head. None of that was written down. I do need to find my notes, though, so that I can actually give you the podcast that you came here for and that I had planned. Let's see here. This is what happens when you catch me at 11 o'clock at night and I'm tired. All right, so episode 647. That's the one we're on right now. That's the one I planned. I do have 3 articles, all in. Oh, geez, I have 2 articles. I have 2 articles that I'm going to go over. I have 2 topics, I should say, that I'm going to go over. Many articles went into this episode, and only 2 topics to talk about. First, before we get to that, though, my goodness, this show is just awful. So before I get to this, the news, I do need to let you know, first, thank you, everybody, for validating my shingles vaccine pain, because there were many of you that wrote in, and there were many of you that said, hey, you know what? I'm not sure which shot was worse, the first one or the second one, because you have to get one between 2 and the second one between 2 and 6 months after you got the first one. And that gave me no hope at all in terms of looking forward to that shot, which I have to get in January. But I will plan my week better for sure when that happens. But yeah, anyway. So the shingle shot was all of your support was noticed and appreciated, and then your encouragement on the second one of it not being much or if at all any better was also noted. And then I've received a fair amount of emails from last episode. So I haven't read all of them and I haven't responded to all of them. So I'm sorry. But Steve Sheridan did message me, and he was correct in his messaging. He said that I had said that the iPhone needed internet connectivity to open the doors. And Steve, he corrected me saying it needs internet connectivity to authenticate, but once you get the doors open, all you need is the is Bluetooth. And here's the thing, and this is part of the problem with recording late at night, which I did on Sunday too. I actually went out to I recorded that piece. I went out to my car and I turned on airplane mode, and which shut off everything, including Wi-Fi and my Bluetooth, and it wouldn't open. Then I turned on Bluetooth and it opened just fine. And I was like, oh, okay, I was wrong. So I thought I had corrected that, but I did not. So thank you very much to Steve for pointing that out, because I mean, that's one of those things that as a Tesla owner that I should absolutely know. And I just kind of blew that, but I appreciate everybody looking out. And I say everybody because, again, there are emails that I haven't got to yet. And so there might be other people in there who have given me this information and I just haven't read it yet. So everybody who wrote in about that, please, thank you. I appreciate that. It was okay. So that is that part. Now let's get to our two stories. GM is permanently ceasing production of the BrightDrop delivery vans at its plant in Ontario, Canada. And the reasons being cited by GM are a slower than expected commercial EV market on top of a changing regulatory environment. So, you know, the tax cuts and all the other subsidies that companies were receiving are pretty much going away in the U.S. They have gone away. Now, I did want to kind of run down how many of the BrightDrop delivery vans have been sold, because actually I see a couple running around my neighborhood, or I shouldn't say just my neighborhood, but like when I'm driving around the Phoenix area, I've seen a couple. And in 2022, GM sold a total of 146 units. In 2023, that number jumped to 497 units. They didn't in the article give numbers for 2024, but in 2025, they were on track to sell 4,000 units in 2025. 2,384 of those were sold in Q3 of 2025. Now, we can assume that's because companies were taking advantage of the $7,500 federal tax credit. I actually don't know that I'm saying this. I'm not sure if that actually qualified for the tax credit, but we could assume there was a boost in sales if it qualified for the tax credit. But then I was kind of curious if we were going to compare that to Rivian's sales, where are they at? So if GM was going to sell 4,000 BrightDrop delivery vans in 2025, what does that look like for Rivian? So I actually just went with the 2024 number because it's pretty impressive for their delivery vans, instead of trying to figure out what it would be in 2025. Rivian sold right around 13,500 delivery vans in 2024. And I believe in late 2024, that's when they opened it up to companies that were not named Amazon. So while, you know, the BrightDrop delivery vans were selling better than they had in the past at 4,000 units, or the potential for 4,000 units, you know, Rivian was kicking their butts. And honestly, I think Rivian has a really good delivery van. I've talked to a few Amazon drivers when they roll up, especially in the beginning. I haven't really done it recently. And there's a lot of nice features. Those folks actually like driving those vehicles, just because they're, I mean, in a lot of ways nicer than those diesel vehicles that they were driving around before. And I guess some still drive around in. You know, they've got that cooled seat, which is very nice here in the Arizona heat. So I'm sure that makes them much more appreciative to drive that vehicle. And they're just kind of new, and they've got cool technology. So I think that's I think that's a bonus, and I think Rivian's killing it. So for GM I'm disappointed that GM's getting out, but I understand why. All right, let's move on to our final story today. It's about the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Bolt. Now, recently I have talked about both in recent episodes, but I came across an article that started with a quote from, it was back in 2010, and back then their CEO was Carlos Ghosn, which I hope I'm saying correct. He was the CEO of Nissan and Renault, and I guess there was some controversy around this person that I have not really looked into, but I plan on it, because one of the articles, when I was trying to look up what his exact title was, because it's kind of a lot, it said before his fall from grace, and I said, oh, well, mental note on that, and go back and look and see what his fall from grace was. But anyway, one of his quotes back in 2010 is that he didn't, well, I'm not going to give the quote because I didn't write it down. I'll give this what he was trying to say is that Nissan didn't get enough credit for the 2010 Nissan Leaf, which was an affordable mass market EV in 2010 that MSRP'd for $32,000. Now, if we look at the original Nissan Leaf, by today's standards, right, it's not much of a car, but back then, you had the Tesla Roadster and the Nissan Leaf pretty much. Obviously, one is $100,000 and the other one's around $32,000. As a matter of fact, in when he was saying that, he went on to say that, to make a great car at $30,000 is never as easy as making a great car at $100,000. And it's harder in terms of, cost controls, obviously, but it's also harder in terms of engineering and probably a bunch of other things that you got to do. So, if we're comparing the Roadster and the Nissan Leaf in 2010, let's see here. The Roadster had 288 horsepower. The Nissan Leaf had 107 horsepower, 207 foot-pound of torque. The Roadster had 295 pound-feet of torque. Let's see, 80 kilowatt battery or motor. I don't see where the Roadster's motor is here. Roadster was rear-wheel drive. Like 80 miles, approximately 100 miles for the Nissan Leaf, and it was 244, I think, for the Roadster. Let's see. Where are you? 245 for the Roadster. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, the Roadster was a little bit more of a performance car, but it started off at $109,000 and topped off at $128,000 for the sport model. So it's still pretty impressive. It's really impressive that both companies were able to get both of these vehicles out, because neither one of them was making money, I'm sure, for quite a while at the prices that they were selling them at. I'm sure they were selling at a loss for quite a while. And I'm not sure that Tesla ever sold the Roadster at a profit. I might be wrong on that. But, yeah, I just think that they're both really interesting. But that's not why I keep going off topic. That's not what I wanted to talk about here. I actually wanted to compare the new Nissan Leaf with the new Chevy Bolt. So we're going to go from 2010. We're going to fast forward 15 years, and we're going to talk about the 2026 Nissan Leaf and the 2027 Chevy Bolt. And again, I know that I talked about both of these vehicles recently, but I kind of wanted to just do a side-by-side comparison And apparently, I thought I had one more story to do for you, but I don't. So I guess all of this yammering is paying off for me time-wise. Hopefully, it's paying off for you in entertainment value. So let's compare the Nissan Leaf with the Chevy Bolt. So in terms of the Nissan Leaf, it comes with Google built in, which so does the Chevy Bolt. GM famously, though, removed Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from their vehicles. The Nissan Leaf still has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Both vehicles are front-wheel drive. I'm just going off the base specs here. I'm not jumping up in tiers. We're just talking about what you get with the base specs. Both vehicles have 150 kilowatt DC fast charging. Now, this is big because both vehicles kind of had crappy charging prior to this. So, with the Leaf, with the Bolt, it's 3 times as fast. Now, the Nissan Leaf has a little bit bigger battery, 75 kilowatt hour battery, whereas the Leaf is rocking a 65 kilowatt hour battery. So that the charge times aren't quite the same. 10 to 80% for the Leaf is 35 minutes, whereas 10 to 80% for the Bolt is 26 minutes, but it's a smaller battery. And then the estimated range for the Bolt is around 255 miles. That's for the standard version. At this point, there has not been a EPA test for this, so that's why we're calling it estimated. The Leaf has 303 miles, so the Leaf has a little bit more miles. 210 horsepower for the Bolt, 214 horsepower for the Leaf. Both vehicles come with an NACS charging port, which I think is great, and both vehicles start right around $29,000. What I started off this story with was, Carlos Ghosn's, and again, probably saying that name wrong, his feeling that Nissan isn't getting enough credit for the 2010 Nissan Leaf because of the engineering that went into it and the cost controls and, probably some other stuff that I'm not aware of as well. Well, I don't think Nissan or Chevy, if I can wrap this up, are getting enough credit for creating 2 compelling EVs for under $30,000 in a market where somehow the new average cost of a car is $50,000. And Nissan and Chevy are out here selling a really good car for $30,000. I think that's pretty impressive. And I think both companies should be applauded for that. All right, everybody, that is it for me today. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE, at 918digital.com. I am extraordinarily busy this week, but I am working on getting some more interviews. And I just now realized that I forgot to reply back to somebody, but I'll do that tonight. But yeah, so I'm working on getting some more interviews. We're going into earnings call season, so that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. Oh man, we are almost to Thanksgiving. I gotta plan the Thanksgiving extravaganza. Okay, gotta do that. So that's fun. It's not sarcastic. That is fun, but I gotta do that before I forget. And then and then the holidays, and then I go to CES. So lots to do, lots to get ready for, lots to prepare for. So I hope y'all are having a wonderful week. I hope you had a great weekend. And I turned what should have been a 5-minute podcast into 36 minutes. So kudos to me. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
GEHA was started by postal employees in 1937. Today, we offer exclusive health plans for all federal employees and retirees. GEHA. Find your federal health plan at GEHA.com.